This is DHG, and I'm doing my review for The Darkness. Played this a couple times. I think I got 3 full playthroughs of it, all good number of years apart. And this was a title I thought of at the last moment for Halloween horror, just because of its subject matter, a lot of the stuff that you get into later on in the game. I'll highlight some of it here. As soon as I find it. Here we go. The imagery in these scenes is just horrific. This all goes back to the origin stories of the darkness and whatnot. But per my normal format, I'm going to go through the same 8 topics that I always do during these reviews and give my rating of it. As much as I wanted to give this game a great rating because I had a superb playthrough of this, I really enjoyed playing this and recording it. Although there were some features of this game that just simply don't work the way they should. And what you're seeing on screen there is some of the different powers you can get. When they work, they can be a lot of fun. But most of the time they don't work, and that was my biggest complaint about the game. That and the things you get later on, the Darklings, which is another power, I don't even think they work 40% of the time, so it's pretty broken. I would have given it a great review otherwise, but it's good. Still not much of a knock. Good, I recommend it to just about anybody to play. But first things first, the graphics. For being an old 360 title, and I mean old, this was... when did this come out? 2007. So only 2 years after the Xbox 360 launched, they got this title. It also came on the PS3 at some point, I don't know when. But the game it looks even realistic to this day. I mean, I'm surprised at how good they made the graphics. I can't understate that enough. Everything looks nice and smooth. I mean, certain things don't stick out above others. The textures all look pretty good, along with the lighting. The lighting in this game is actually really great for back then. It even looks good today. But everything seemed to look like real even keel. It's not like some games that you play like, let's just say Resident Evil 6, for example, where you'll be walking through the environment like, man, this game looks great, then you'll see a really, really low quality texture. It just kind of like pops out. Like, oh, they didn't put any work toward, oh, there's Pestilence. They didn't put any work towards that, trying to even this stuff out a little bit, but no. The graphics in this game are great. I mean, graphics don't mean everything, but it's certainly eye candy to look at if you're playing through. And the second thing's controls. Controls were a little iffy in this game. Once you get used to the core gameplay elements, like what each button does and how to swap weapons and all that, because this was before Call of Duty 4 kind of like standardized everything, and it didn't really follow Halo's lead. It kind of went its own way. It can be here's one of the Darklings I was talking about. They never work. But they did their own thing, and it works. Although I can't say that you can just pick it up and go right into it like you can with a lot of games like Call of Duty and whatnot. It takes a little getting used to. The dead zone in the game's kind of large. You can adjust it by various methods, like within the controls it's pretty detailed, but they describe them in some very unorthodox ways. I don't know why they did that, but other than that, the controls pretty much fine. You can get some fine tuning in there, at least there's the option to do that, but other than that, take a little bit of getting used to. The gameplay. I thought the gameplay was great. I had a lot of fun time shooting and using the darkness powers when they worked. Just mowing people over was a lot of fun in general, and it was kind of really interesting within this game how they broke up the different segments of gameplay. Like, it's not really an open world game, but it's not exactly linear either. You can go through it and you can follow the linear path if you want, or you can go off to the side and just observe people in the subway, for example. Call all their phone numbers and see what kind of weird things they have in store for you. But it was pretty. I'd have to say that this game really, really excelled at setting an ambient atmosphere with the music in the background and everything else that I don't think many other games have come up and did that as well as they did, especially shooters. I mean, that's kind of par for the course for RPGs, but they rarely even pull it off. This game, the atmosphere, even if it's in the subway or in the World War I trenches here, it was just absolutely amazing. They did a really good job with it. Sound. Sound was a big one in this. Gunshots, they're gunshots. They don't really sound wimpy in this game. They don't sound too powerful either. Although when you pick up that Leon Feld that I just found on the ground there, that thing cracks. That's very nice. But the biggest thing within the sound was, I would just say the strange ambient noises that you'll hear every now and then. I mean, especially if you're wearing a headset, which I was. You'll hear it and you go, that's a really fine level of detail they put in there. It was very good. The music. That was probably one of the biggest takeaways from this game, other than the fun factor and the graphics. This had a lot of really good ambient music in it, especially when you're wandering around in the subway. Really set the atmosphere of kind of like desperation, kind of set the tone for the game. They pulled it off masterfully. I think this was developed by Seabreeze. I don't think they got enough credit for how well they did that back in the day. But the ambient music's great. The combat music's really good. There's a lot of licensed music in the game. A lot of bands that I like too. So I ended up buying one of their CDs, and the Dusk Fall that you hear of, that was one of my favorite bands for like a year or two. I don't have any complaints about the music in this game. The story, it wasn't bad. I don't really see how it all tied together with, whatever darkness that one of your ancestors brought into the family. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I think they could have done a better job explaining it, but I kind of feel like the story was half-baked. They wanted to make the gameplay first and foremost, and the story's kind of like secondary, and for that they succeeded, but a lot of people say the story's a little disjointed and all that, and it is, and that's a fair critique. But at least they didn't go so far out there with, like, Condemned 2, where the story just got beyond believable, or just so ridiculous that you go, oh, you guys really should have thought about this more. You don't have any of that here. Stability and bugs. Frame rate can get a little choppy in certain areas of the game, but it's not exactly consistent. I didn't encounter any... Wait, yeah, I did. I encountered a bug where I got stuck in something and had to reload, but that was about it. I understand that there's one quest in this game that can get bugged out. During this playthrough, it didn't bug out on me, though. So it seems to be rather stable and very playable. It's not like some sort of a polished turd out there that you find with a lot of other games. And throw my opinions in here. Okay. I've already said how compelling this World War I part of the atmosphere was. Let me see if I could show you the subway scenes. Yeah, you just wander around down here in the subway in between going from objective to objective. You can get a side quest down here too. There aren't that many. All the extra content, you'll meet people like this who are all part of the family because Jackie's a mafia dude. And they'll tell you this, that, and they kind of tell the story of the game through their narration and the stuff that goes on. And then you got the voice of the darkness himself, which is the legendary Mike Patton from Faith No More and Mr. Bungle and however many dozens of bands he was in. He does the voice of the darkness, and you get some narration in that aspect too. And other times it's Jackie telling you what's going on in the story. And I thought I recognized that voice actor, but I didn't. Oh, here I was trying to find out if the train could run me over or not. Yeah, it can. You don't really die, you just get brought back by the darkness to whatever your last checkpoint was. Sometimes it can be kind of far back there, but it's never anything too big. All the characters you talk to, it's all done from a unique perspective. Kind of like role-playing games, how that they usually do it there. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this game. I really enjoyed picking the controller up and getting back into this. I wanted to give it a great rating, like I said, but I just can't do it. Just because a lot of these systems, like the Dark Lanes you just saw go around there, they just don't work. I mean, most of the time, especially within crowded areas. Let me see if I can find that one where I get into the giant German railgun. The Darklings generally do fine on open terrain, but once you get into cramped, claustrophobic spaces, they just do not respond to any controls whatsoever. It's horrible. Trying to command them around is just ridiculously bad. And here we go. This is inside the... Oh, here is the German railgun. Greta, or whatever the Germans named it back in the day. This was the only darkness power that was actually consistently good, was the creeping darkness. But inside here, you'll see me summon some of the Darklings to try to get them to help me out. Like, you get one that just kills all the lights around so you can regenerate health. They just don't do it. Yeah, see, he's just standing there. I ended up having to shoot the light out myself, or tried. They give a rather generous auto aim, but see that he just ran right up to me. You have one of the buttons on gamepad where you can command them to go to a certain point, but they just don't follow it. It's like you're suggesting them to do it. The darkness powers, out of all of them, Creeping Dark, the one where you slither around like a snake. Right here. You can slither around, like if they're behind cover, you can send this dude out and he'll attack them or whatever. That works consistently well. Everything else, the demon arm, you can use that to impale people or knock out the lights if you choose to do it that way. It works reasonably well most of the time too. But the other two ones, you get darkness pistols. I found absolutely no use for them whatsoever. Yeah, here they are. The one's kind of like a cannon, the other one's, I don't know, a standard pistol. But I saw no reason to use these over the standard weapons in the game just because then you're using up your darkness slot too. Normally you can have like a darkness power, whichever one you choose, and then you can have your guns out at the same time. But here, if you use this, it cancels out all the other darkness powers. It just didn't seem like there was a big point in using them. Plus, when you ran out of ammo, you didn't auto switch over to something else, and you just stand there like trying to pistol whip things that aren't there, like I just did with my left hand there. And the last one you get is something called Black Hole. Pretty cool darkness power, but it doesn't work very well. Here we go. I just saw it. That's the black hole right there. The whole idea is it creates like a small singularity that sucks enemies and everything else in. but you can only cast it out to like 15 feet away from you. I tried to do it to people like 40 yards away on buildings. It just doesn't go that far, but it can be fun to use. Overall, when everything is working in this game, it is really great, but some of the darkness powers can be frustrating, thus that justifies why I'm only giving this a good review. I felt the need to explain that. That's why this video is like 17 minutes long. But that's it. That's the darkness for Xbox 360. I looked up this game, and it is completely backwards compatible on Xbox. And I believe you can get it on PlayStation Now as well, if you choose to do it that way. I'm not sure about the PC status, so you'll have to check that out. I don't think Steam has it on anymore. I don't even think they have the sequel anymore. But that's it. My review for The Darkness.